What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video. And in this one, I want to talk about Tesla stock and break down something very important about the share price of Tesla right now and what's going on with the charts right now. I'm also going to talk about Nvda, SPY, and the QQQ, and just a couple of other tickers out there and break down what the technicals are suggesting and why I have a very, very big warning for everyone about the market going into tomorrow. But before I break anything down about all this information, before I get into any more details, let me just mention a couple of things. I'm firstly not a financial planner, so make sure you take none of this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please check out the Webull link, which is down below and in the description. If you sign up for Webull, the link down below, and deposit any amount of money into the account, you are guaranteed up to 12 free stocks. The offer ends in just 6 days, so check it out before they run out. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So what's going on with Tesla? Why is Tesla performing the way it is? I'm sure that's a question on a lot of people's minds. I want to break down something very important about it. So when it came to my video from yesterday, I was talking about how looking at Tesla, we're going to be looking at the wedge that formed from yesterday. And I was expecting a break in one of the directions, right? And I told you guys we had this gap up here. So I was anticipating Tesla to get a nice pop because of that. And that's why I talked about a bounce to come for today. Now, looking at the chart, we did get the bounce in the pre-market. If you look at Tesla, we got a very nice pump. Tesla closed. Remember, Tesla was in like the 248 area when it closed yesterday. It actually went all the way up to about 252 in the morning during the pre-market. So this bounce did technically happen, but it didn't really play out the way I was initially suspecting, though, at least from yesterday. We didn't actually hold these levels. And then after the market opened, we got this like gap up from the pre-market. I warned you all that we would likely see like a drop, then a pop, and then lots of choppy price action after that. If anything, it didn't really play out that way exactly. We ended up dropping even lower than what I was expecting. So it was much weaker. Like I was hoping Tesla would hold up around the 248 level, if not by 246, then try to bounce from there. Instead, we went all the way down to 242. So sometimes things like this could happen. Sometimes the market can make unexpected turns. I wasn't expecting SPY to drop as hard as it did, but the market did get this bounce and we're trying to push up again. Tesla's trying to make its way up to about the 245 level right now. And on SPY, we got a nicer bounce. If you look at SPY, it came all the way down to 444.9, so even lower than what I was expecting. But it came right back up to about almost 448. It's trying to make its way back up, getting a nice bounce. But the question is, how is the market looking? And what is my warning for everyone about all these different charts? So for Tesla, let's first look at this. I know this looks a little complicated. Basically, the chart looks like this. This was our really important support line, and now this is acting as resistance. So we came below our supports from this like channel that Tesla was stuck in for quite some time. So it looks like this basically. But zooming into it, we formed a double bottom on Tesla, so there is potential for Tesla to try, to get a push up back into this area. But the thing about this is there's very limited time left. We only have about 2 hours left until the market closes. And despite this like double bottom like structure that formed on Tesla, I have to warn everyone that tomorrow is going to be a different day. Tomorrow in the morning, we have CPI coming out. If CPI is too hot, the market could get a big rug pull. But if CPI is cooler than expected, the market could get a nice bounce. And both of those are possible for Tesla. From a technical standpoint, I'm in the middle right now for it. It depends on if you reject off this resistance or not, especially going into tomorrow. But if we get a bounce and start pushing up, and this double bottom formation could lead to a bullish outcome, right? That is a possibility as well. But here's the thing, and I think that this is going to be one of the best ways to visualize tomorrow for you. That's by looking at SPY. We have a very, very nice setup on SPY. I want to talk about this. So looking at it, there are two possibilities for tomorrow. We have this falling wedge that is forming on SPY. It looks just like this. It's been forming for the last couple of days. And the thing about this wedge is we're getting tighter and tighter. But if we get a really good CPI tomorrow, if CPI is lower than expected on the core side and the CPI is a decent number, we could see SPY break out of this falling wedge and get a really nice breakout like this and start pushing for these much higher levels. It could even break out much quicker. It could just like go all the way up like this in one day if the bullish outcome ends up playing out. And in that case, I mean, we could see some very, very nice price action if we get a very, very good CPI tomorrow, a very, very bullish break to the upside. But what if CPI is hot? What if with these gas prices going up, we get a hot CPI and something bad happens? Well, there's also the possibility of the market staying within this wedge and the SPY coming all the way down to about this like 444 area again, breaking up and just continuing to downtrend into the very low 440s going into the end of the week. And we could see SPY come all the way down to like 442 or so. That's going to be the next major support. Uh, Either one of these are very possible. I'm honestly not sure which one is going to be. There's both a bullish case right here. There's also a bearish case right here. Which one is it going to be? I don't know, to be honest with you. I don't know what CPI is going to be. The majority of people watching this channel don't know. And for that reason, you have to be prepared for anything. And in being prepared, you have to manage risks accordingly. Who knows what's going to happen with all these numbers? They could cause the market to get a rug pull. They could cause the opposite. Regardless of what happens, okay? The market's going to see a big reaction, and we have to be prepared for this, whether it's by managing risks, taking profits when we can, and doing what we have to do to avoid getting into lots of conflicts. I want to make that as clear as possible that we don't know what's going to happen. So that's my warning for you guys. Be very careful when holding any kind of like options or trades overnight. The market could make a very unpredictable move. But for SPY right now, we're trying to push up to our EMA right here, the 20 EMA as our resistance. Then we have like the 50 coming up next. 448 is going to be a critical resistance as well on SPY. So make sure you watch for that if this thing tries to continue going. Tesla's at 245. We're going to be watching this thing try to make its way up to about, if it holds above this 245 resistance around this area, I think 245.25 is acting as resistance. If it breaks this and holds above this, we could see 246.5 as the next level on Tesla. We are curling on the MACD, so there's a good chance that Tesla could make some improvements, but we have to be very careful with it and then wait and see what happens. Now, did we get a drop? Yes, we did get a drop like I was talking about, but it was much worse than what I was expecting. I thought Tesla would try to hold up a lot better. And sometimes, like I said, things like this happen. The best thing we could do as traders is accept it. I'm not a fortune teller. I will make mistakes sometimes. Sometimes unexpected things can happen. And that's the reason why we always call out these support and resistance levels, right? We always have support and resistance levels to look at just in case. So like below 245, we had 244 and then 242 as our support, then 240 below that. And right now, resistance is currently at around this 245.25 zone. And then above that, we have 247.5 as the next critical resistance, the more like strong resistance. But there's some at 246.5 as well. So we're going to be watching these levels carefully on Tesla. It's very tight right now. And we might just see lots of sideways price action for the rest of the day. But please remember that we don't know what's going to happen the next day. So we're going to be watching these levels. And don't forget that CPI is going to cause a big move. If CPI is bullish, we could see Tesla push all the way up to these imbalances and push all the way back up to 250 plus, maybe even 255 potentially for the other imbalance. If it's a bad CPI and the market gets rug pulled, we could see Tesla crash into the 230s. Okay, I want to warn you about that. Make sure you're prepared. For SPY, a good CPI is going to help this thing pump very nicely. I will talk more about that in a later video. 450 is a possibility. If it's a bad CPI, we can see a big rug pull and break below 444. And then for the triple Q, it's the same thing. A good CPI, a decent CPI is going to push this thing all the way up to 372 plus, if not all the way up to 375. A very bad CPI, and this thing could come all the way down into like the 365 area or lower than that. Okay, so you have to be prepared for all these big moves. For Apple, we could see 180 plus tomorrow, 182 plus. If it's a bad CPI, 176 becomes a possibility. And then like the same thing could be said about Nvda. It's going to be the last stock I talk about on this channel for today, at least for this video for now. I'm going to release another video later on to talk more about more tickers and specific details. But for Nvidia, a good CPI could launch this thing up to about 444 plus, if not 450. And a bad CPI is going to take it all the way down to 420 or lower, all the way down to lower levels. So we're going to be watching these levels very carefully to see which one ends up playing out. And the best thing I could really tell you is we're going to be watching this chart. We're going to be watching this falling wedge on SPY to see if this ends up getting a breakout or not. Watch these support and resistance levels, and we will see which one ends up being more likely. We will see what CPI causes. And the best thing to do is to remain calm, cool, and collected. Wait and see what the chart tells us and to manage risks accordingly. Not financial advice. Thank you for listening. Tesla in the market to the moon because the long term is still very bright despite the short term volatility, despite all the downside we saw today and yesterday. And peace out.